Hey guys, Cyac here, and today I'm going to bring you a Tellarknight deck profile. Tellarknight got some support in Cyberstorm Access, which means it can now turn 1 turn skip, which is always fun, and fundamentally an FTK. It also got some support that helps bridge it with the constellar archetype, so we do play some constellar cards as well, and it's got lots of cool combos involving things like isolde, and the fact that Deltaros was printed before hard once per turns were a very, very common effect. The deck list is up here. So you can see that, you can see all the ratios and the total price, and if you want to click off the video, now feel free. Otherwise, we'll go through the card by card, and then we'll have a quick look at some of the combos at the end of the video. So we're going to start with Satellarknight Deneb. Deneb is part of the original group released in Duelist Alliance. They all have effects that trigger on any kind of summoning. So Deneb's effect allows it to search any Tellarknight card from your deck to your hand. Very, very important for most of your turn 1 plays. You'll usually go through this card. If you don't need it because you've already got it, then generally you'll end with it in your hand, so you have follow-up the next turn. Next, we're going to look at Satellarknight Altair. This is another one of the original ones. This special summons any Tellarknight on its summon from your graveyard in defense position. We use this to reuse Deltaros a lot, or if we're trying to turn skip. And then the condition of that effect is you can only attack with Tellarknight monsters that turn. Next we have one of the new cards, Tellarknight Lyran. This is also considered a constellar card, and this is the most important new card in the deck. Lyran, if a Tellarknight or constellar monster is a normal summon to your field, except itself, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is summoned, add 1 Tellarknight spell from your deck to your hand. This is usually going to get us Skybridge. Sometimes it'll get us Constellar Tellarknights, but usually we search that off Caduceus. This is really important because Skybridge is needed for most of our combo lines. Because it's a Constellar and a Tellarknight card, it enables us to add 2 cards back reliably with the Xyz monster as well. We summon that. For our 2-offs, we have 2 copies of Satellarknight Unakalhai. Unakalhai is a foolish burial on normal summon. It allows us to dump a target for Altair to bring back, or more frequently allows us to dump Altairon, the new card from Cyac, which can then bring itself back with its own effect. 2 copies of Satellarknight Vega. This is just a free extender in hand, because it special summons a Tellarknight monster from our hand. It helps unlock hands where we haven't been able to normal summon with Lyran in hand. Say we've had to normal summon a Deneb to get a Lyran. If we can then find a way to get a Vega onto the field, we can then use its effect to special summon the Lyran from the hand and search that way. We then have 2 copies of Tellarknight Altairon. I've put 2 copies in here because it does brick if you draw it. We really always want to be sending this to the graveyard if we can help it. If this card is summoned, target cards onto the field up to the number of light and dark Xyz monsters you control and destroy them. This is very frequently summoned on our opponent's turn, either with its own effect or with a card like Skybridge, allowing for extra interruption in our opponent's turn. And then if a Tellarknight or Constellar monster is special summoned to our field, except itself, special summon this card from your graveyard, and then locks you from attacks except from Xyz monsters. 2 very useful effects there, the ability to bring itself out without relying on Altair to bring it back, and also the fact that it also provides us some extra disruption on our opponent's turn. Our final Tellarknight is Satellarknight Sirius. This is a sort of mini pot of avarice. We're playing this mainly as an extra name. Sometimes we add it to our hand as an isolde target if we don't have any other targets we want to add in our deck, because our most common target is Fireflint Lady, but if we draw that, then we obviously can't add it off isolde, because this is the one we use least often turn 1, gives us much needed recycling for the deck in later turns, and is just another name that can be used to bring back something like Altairon. 1 copy of Constellar Caduceus. We only need 1 because we're pretty much always searching this through Sheraton's effect, although not actually using Sheraton. If you control a Constellar monster, except itself, summon this card from the hand. During your main phase, add 1 Constellar spell trap from your deck to your hand. A Constellar Xyz monster that has this card as material gains this effect. If this card battles light or dark monster before damage calculation, banish that monster. Battle effect basically never comes up. We are using this to search Constellar Tellarknights. 1 Constellar Sheraton. This is used as a banish target for the new Xyz monster. If this card is normal summoned, add 1 Constellar monster from your deck to your hand. Very, very simple. Unfortunately, it's only had a dual terminal and a hidden arsenal printing, which does make it a bit harder to come by, but we only need the 1 copy for this deck because we're pretty much never using it normally. 3 copies of Sakitama. This is a spirit monster. It's a level 4, which provides us with a really nice little rank 4 engine and about 5 cards. Cannot be special summoned as per all spirit monsters. If it was normal summoned or flipped face up, return it to the hand. You can reveal this card in your hand, normal summon 1 spirit monster from your hand. If this card is tributed, which we're not going to do, add target 1 spirit monster in the graveyard, add it to your hand. This is a free level 4 normal summon. It's a free extender essentially, which is really nice for this deck. And to go with that, we have 2 copies of Aratama. If this card is normal summoned or flipped face up, add 1 spirit monster from your deck to your hand. So this makes it a 1 card rank 4, which is very important for this deck. Finally, we play our 2 Isolde targets. We have Infernoble Knight Renaud, which is our main summoned target of Isolde because it gives us back the living fossil we dump to send it, which gives us another level 4 body. So this is our most frequent summon target of Isolde. And then our search target is a copy of Fireflint Lady because it's an extender in the hand that essentially lets itself swap itself out for any other level 4, such as a Tellarknight, or it can be used to make Isolde in a pinch because it can summon itself. For our hand traps, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. You know what this card does. It stops searches, it stops dumping, and similar. 3 copies of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. This stops graveyard shenanigans. Again, very common, sees a lot of play at the moment. And then finally, 2 Effect Veiler as our poor man's infinite impermanence. 2 copies of Satellarknight Skybridge. This target 1 Tellarknight monster you control, summon a Tellarknight monster with a different name from the deck, and shuffle the target monster into the deck. This helps us dodge targeted interruption like infinite impermanence or Effect Veiler on must-resolve Tellarknight effects, helps us recycle our Xyz monsters if we need them, puts material attached to Xyz monsters in the grave where we can easily get them back, and provides things like easy ways of triggering Altairen on our opponent's turn. It's needed for a lot of our combos to ensure that we can get to things like the turn skip combo. Our other in-archetype spell card is Constellar Tellarknights. When this card is activated, special summon 1 Tellarknight or Constellar monster from your hand or graveyard. Target a Tellarknight or Constellar Xyz monster you control. Special summon from your extra deck a Tellarknight or Constellar Xyz monster with a different rank than that monster using it as material. 1 effect per turn. Once that turn, only activate 1 copy of this card per turn. So, this is the most important spell card in the deck. This is what enables us to do things like the turn skip combo, abuse Deltaros's effect multiple times in a turn. The most important thing, firstly, its extension, brings something back from the grave or unlocks your hand. But most importantly is the rank change effect. This is one of the few cards that allows us to both rank up and rank down. Because most of our Xyz monsters are rank 4, however, we have access to Constellar Ptolemy M7, which is a free rank 6 that we can put on any of our rank 4s. Therefore, we can then immediately rank it back down into a rank 4. Whether that be Ptolemaeus or a copy of Deltaros or anything like that. It also gives us easy access to Constellar Pleiades if we need that for more interruption. It's a really important card of the deck and one of the reasons that the deck can now turn skip. To finish, we have 3 one-offs. We have a copy of Reinforcement of the Army because it's a warrior deck, so being able to search any warrior is very valuable. 1 copy of Call by the Grave. This is a heavy combo deck. Its combo is very fragile. This deck does not want to be drolled. Sometimes you just really want to have the Call by the Grave. And then finally, we end with a copy of Living Fossil. This is our dump target for Isolde. Renaud gets it back, and then that gives us another level 4. For our extra deck, we have 2 copies of Tellarknight Constellar Caduceus. This is a rank 4 that can be summoned with any number of Xyz materials above 2. If it's Xyz summoned, target a Tellarknight and Constellar monster in your Constellar card in your graveyard, add them to your hand. So this can add 1 or 2 cards. Remember, Lyran is both, so Lyran can always be considered as the Constellar card, which means you can pretty much always add 2 cards back to your hand. This is how you get follow-up. This card enables you to go about +3 most turns. The more important effect is banish 1 Constellar monster or Tellarknight monster from your hand or deck and attach 1 material. Note it does this cost, and then you get to activate that monster's effect as if it were normal summoned. This We're normally banishing Sheraton here. Remember, it can banish from hand, so Sheraton does not become a hard garnet. And this protects you from Ash Blossom, because at the time you activate the effect, your opponent does not know what you're activating, so this cannot be Ash Blossomed. And because it banishes and detaches a cost, they can't interact with that either. Okay, you can only use each effect once per turn. This is a crucial card for our combos. Firstly, it can be summoned with multiple level 4s. To turn skip, you need 5 level 4s on the field and not to have used the rank change effect of Constellar Tellarknights. That is where you're aiming to hit for turn skip. Okay. This card enables you to go to about +3 by searching something with Sheraton and then getting 2 cards back from the graveyard. It's a really, really crucial part of the deck, and also it's a nice big body as well at 2500. We then have 1 copy of Tellarknight Ptolemaeus. This is how we turn skip. 2+ level 4 monsters, once per turn quick effect, detach 3 materials from this card, special summon from your extra deck 1 Xyz monster, 1 rank higher than this card, except a number monster, using this card as Xyz material. This is how we make Cyber Dragon Infinity. Just remember, you have to go through Nova first before you get to Infinity, so you cannot make Infinity on your opponent's turn. I have tried to do that, it does not work. Remember, you have to make Nova, and then overlay the Nova into Infinity. Okay, so this gives you a negate if you're not aiming for turn skip. If you're aiming for turn skip, this is how you turn skip. You can detach 7 materials from this card, skip your opponent's next turn. It's as simple as that. Skip your opponent's next turn. Once per turn during the end phase, attach 1 Stellarknight card from your extra deck to this card as material. Okay, so it can give itself more material as well, but normally if we're turn skipping, we're using all our material to do that. We then have 1 copy of Stellarknight Deltaros. Deltaros is 3 level 4 monsters. While this card has Xyz material, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect when you normal or special summon a monster. Once per turn, detach 1 Xyz material from this card, target 1 card on the field and destroy it. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, special summon 1 Tellarknight monster from your hand or deck. We can loop this effect 2 or 3 times in a turn, the special summoning effect, because it's not a hard once per turn. So with cards like Altair and making isolde and so on, we can very easily use this effect multiple times per turn. It helps us break the board if we're going second as well, because it's got a very nice destruction effect, and also protects us when we're making other things from things like infinite impermanence. 1 Stellarknight Trivia. During the turn you Xyz summon this card, you cannot special summon monsters except Tellarknight monsters. That's quite a restrictive line of text. You don't make Trivia very often, but it is still quite important. If this card is Xyz summoned, return all other cards on the field to the hand. That's the big line of text on Trivia. It's a fabulous going second card. If you can access Trivia into a big board that's gone through its monster negates, it can be very difficult to come back from that, because it's essentially a board wipe. You can detach 1 Xyz material, send 1 card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, so it can hand loop as well. And then if it's with Xyz material, it's sent to the graveyard, targets a Tellarknight monster in your graveyard and special summon it. It's not as good as Deltaros because it requires Xyz material if it goes to the graveyard, but it still has some very, very good, particularly going second applications, which is why we still run it. We then have 2 Constellar cards that we use. We have 1 Constellar Pleiades, quick effect, attach 1 material, target 1 card on the field, return it to the hand, very nice interruption. We can easily access with Constellar Tellarknights. And then finally we have M7, which is mainly used as a bridge to rank down into a rank 4 with Constellar Tellarknights. Xyz summon this card by using a Constellar Xyz monster, like Caduceus, because it's both. If summoned this way, you cannot activate its effect this turn. Doesn't matter, we're basically never activating the effect of this card anyway, because if we wanted to, we'd just make Pleiades and Swell, which is a quick effect instead. As I said, this card's main application is that it's a rank 6 that is a free rank up. So it enables us to go into rank 6 and then down into a rank 4 again, to give us an extra material for something like turn skip. For our other Xyz monsters, we play 1 Gaga Gaga Magician. Not Gaga Gaga Magician, that's the main deck monster. This is Gaga Gaga Magician. This, you can detach 1 material from this card, target an Xyz monster in the graveyard, and special summon it, but negate its effects. This is how we make our next Xyz monster, Utopic Future. and then we immediately change that into Utopic Draco Future, so this can make UFD. UFD is a monster negate and steal, which is very, very good. Can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, and then obviously the negate and take control of that monster. Finally, for our Xyz monsters, we play Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Dragon Infinity. Infinity obviously provides us with non-destruction removal. It's quite a big body that can be quite difficult to get over, and then provides us with an Omni Negate. And this is the card that originally got Tellarknight Ptolemaeus banned, and now it's back, so we'll make it again. For our Link monsters, we have one copy of Isolde. This is usually searching as Fireflint Lady and then summoning Reynord from the deck by dumping Living Fossil, which enables us to link climb into Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess, to give us more monster negates. And then our final Link monster is a copy of Nightmare Unicorn, because sometimes you just need a quick out to something and you don't have any other easy outs to things, either because they can't be destroyed or you can't make Driver or something like that. So Unicorn is just a very clean out to a lot of things. So that is the deck list. It mainly focuses on the turn skip application versus going in and doing Isolde combos. They're obviously the main two lines that you can take with this. For upgrades, the main one that you can consider is adding a Zeus package to this deck. This deck obviously very easily utilises Zeus, because most Xyz monsters can be made with multiple materials. I chose not to include Zeus in this deck partly because of space and partly because I wanted to play things like Cyber Dragon Infinity and Utopic Draco Future. You could cut the Unicorn for the Zeus. The other thing is, if you want to play Zeus, you could also consider adding a copy of Satellarknight Constellar Diamond, which is another free rank 6 that you can make very, very easily in main phase 2 to get an extra activation from your Zeus. So I hope you've enjoyed that video, and we will now quickly have a look at the combos in this deck.